Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss grade 9th CBSE chapter, The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. The story starts with Margie writing in her diary about a book that Tommy had found. Margie was revived about her grandfather, who once talked about his grandfather, who went to an actual school where human teachers taught the students. Margie is 11 years old and Tommy is 30. Their story is placed in the future, in the year 2157. So let's get started. Margie is the main character of the story and is around 11 years of age. On the night of 17th May 2157, Margie made an entry in her diary. She wrote, "Today, Tommy found an actual book. It was a very old book. It was printed on paper." Margie's grandfather once told Margie about such books. He had said that when he was a little child, his grandfather had told him of a time when all stories were printed on paper. Tommy lived in Margie's neighborhood. That day, he had come to Margie's house and shown her an old, dusty book. He said that he had found the book in the attic. It's a space just below the roof, more or less used as a storeroom. So he found the book in the attic of his house. Margie is talking about the book that Tommy had found. She says that the pages of the book had turned yellow and they had been crushed as it was very old. The children found it very funny to read the words which stood still. As the words were printed on the pages, they didn't move. On the other hand, the books that Margie and Tommy read, they were online. They were e-books that we have nowadays. So whenever they turned the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. So Tommy thought that such a book was just a waste. One could throw it away after reading it. The television screen, on the other hand, could have on it millions and millions of books. Thus, one never had to throw it away. So he told Margie that the book was about school. Margie disliked the word school. She said that what was there to write about it? And an entire book had been written about school? But Tommy told her that what was mentioned in the book, it was very different from the type of Margie's school. Margie's school was in her own house. Her schoolroom was right next to her bedroom. She had a mechanical teacher to teach her. The teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and Margie had been doing worse and worse in each test. So her mother was very unhappy. Finally, her mother thought that there was something wrong with the machine, so she had called the county inspector to check it. So who's a county inspector? It's a person of that area who checks, repairs the mechanical teachers so that students can study well. So the county inspector came and he was a round little man. He had a red face and he had a box full of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. Then he took the mechanical teacher apart. Margie had thought that the county inspector would not know how to put the mechanical teacher together again. But he knew everything all right. He was able to complete the job in about an hour. Now the big screen of the mechanical teacher was on again. It could show all the lessons and the related questions. The part she hated the most was the slot where she had to put her homework and test papers. Margie had to write her homework and test papers in a particular punch code, which is a computing language. And she had learned it when she was 6 years old. So the machine used to check the papers and calculate her marks so soon. So the inspector smiled after finishing the work and he patted Margie's head. And he said to her mother that it was not the little girl's fault. The geography sector, that geography part, was geared, fixed a little too quick, and I have slowed it down up to a level of an average 10 to 11-year-old child. The overall pattern of the child's progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Margie's head again, but Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping that they would take away the mechanical teacher altogether. In fact, once it had happened with Tommy's teacher also. It was taken away for nearly a month because the history sector, the history section, had blanked out completely. Now, when Tommy said that the book was about school, Margie couldn't quite understand it. She didn't think anyone would like to write about school. At this, Tommy told her that the book that he bought was not about their kind of school. It was about a different kind of school. It was the old kind of school they had many centuries ago. Tommy explained to Margie that those old schools had a teacher, but it was not a regular teacher. It was a man, he said, because to them the regular teacher was a mechanical teacher. Now, Margie had never heard of man as a teacher. She'd always learned from a mechanical teacher only, and she had it in her own schoolroom. She had never thought that a teacher could be a man. So she was much surprised. She said that a man couldn't be as smart as a mechanical teacher. Moreover, she didn't like having strange man in her house to teach her. Tommy laughed on hearing this. He said that the teacher in those old days didn't live in the house of a child. They had a special building where they went to teach, and all the kids were there to learn. Tommy told Margie that all the children of the same age were taught the same way. A mechanical teacher, on the other hand, had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each different boy and girl. The two children had not yet finished even half of the book when Margie's mother called for her. She said that it was time for Margie's school. She said that it was probably time for Tommy's school also. Now Tommy tucked the book, the old dusty book, under his arm and walked away whistling. Margie went into her schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom. The mechanical teacher was on and was waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday. Margie's mother had fixed regular hours for Margie's study. She said that little girls learn better if they studied at regular hours. The screen was lit up. The mechanical teacher was going to give a lesson in arithmetic, something to do with mathematics, and it was about addition of proper fractions. So the mechanical teacher directed Margie to put her previous day's homework in the proper slot. Margie did this with a sigh, deep breath. The mechanical teacher started with the lesson, but Margie was still thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little child. Margie was thinking about the fun the children had in those schools. All the kids from all the neighborhood came there. They laughed and shouted in the schoolyard. They sat together in the schoolroom. They went home together at the end of the day. All kids of the same age learned the same thing. Thus, they could help each other in the homework. They could talk to each other about it. Thus, Margie kept thinking about the fun children could have in those schools of old days. So that's all about the chapter. I hope you've understood it. If you like the video, please make sure you do like, share and subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.